Hello and welcome back to my channel. There's something I wanted to call out that I've noticed in my biking journey that I just think is ludicrous. The question I want to address in this video is, can you buy a classic 350 brand new for the same price as some very basic options on a larger, bigger brand bike? For me personally, having browsed some of the options lists on some of these bikes, I have a lot of questions to ask that I'm going to look at in this video. However, I started by just rooting around on AutoTrader, which is the UK's main site for bike deals, just to see what sort of price I could get a brand new 350 for first. As an example, I found this one around £3,800, pre-registered, no mileage, effectively brand new. For the sake of this video, I'm using the 350 because if you watch my 350 other video, you'll see I recognise it as an outstanding piece of design. And also the riders of 350s will also talk a lot about what an engaging, fun, brilliant machine it actually is. So we're not exactly going budget, so to speak. We're still picking a beautiful motorcycle that's dearly loved by a lot of people. It's just at the lower end of the cost scale. Question is, can you buy an entire fun, beautiful motorcycle brand new for the price of just some accessories on other motorcycles? I really think a lot of manufacturers are taking the mickey with these, and I just wanted to pull out some key examples to show you how out of control it actually is. This is just a bit of fun and guidance, but I just wanted to bring it to your attention anyway, because I do think they're taking the mickey with a lot of these prices. How you can buy an entire good motorcycle that you could use as a second bike for the price of just some accessories, some of which are just cosmetic, I wanted to illustrate here. I've tried to be fair. I've not gotten anything too ludicrous, and I've picked out some specific examples as well that are just absolutely silly to the point of entertaining. It's always worth shopping around when you get accessories. There's always, in often cases, better aftermarket accessories available. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to total up some for each manufacturer and just see where we end up. Okay then, let's get started. Of course I was going to go to BMW first. They're famous for selling ludicrously expensive motorcycles to very wealthy people, but I do think the price of some of these accessories is ludicrous. I'm going to pick out some of these ones that you would actually want or you might need if you were touring, but there was some real crimes on the website, in particular over £1,100 for carbon fibre engine guards. I just thought that was madness. Let's start with the OEM Panniers, £951. And of course you'll need to attach these to your bike, which they don't come fitted as standard, which comes in at £812.57. You'll also need a rack to put your top box on at £798.13. This actually makes me laugh. A centre stand for £339.25. Now, given on a lot of budget bikes, this actually comes as standard, and I would consider it an essential accessory if you were actually getting an adventure bike and going touring. The top case, £574.51. All in with a BMW, some cases which will be essential for touring, and a centre stand brings us to £3,475.47. As you can see, is pretty much the cost of a brand new classic 350. As you can see, just some pretty basic general options for touring on a BMW easily gets you close to the price of a classic 350, and that's not even talking a second-hand 350. You can get one much lower with just a few miles on it, a second-hand one, but we're not going to compare second-hand for the sake of this. We're going to question why some panniers and some modest accessories cost as much as a brand new bike. It's not fair to just compare the very high-end brands. Obviously, they're going to be a bit over the top. So I decided to look at Moto Guzzi next. The side supports just for the aluminium side cases come in at £319. Add to that the top box and the aluminium panniers. So that's £664, £1,179. A centre stand, which comes as standard on most Royal Enfields, is £219. Then this one really threw me on top of it all. You can get essentially what's a sticker pack to individualise your Moto Guzzi, and yes, they do look very cool. But at £1,714, that is an insane amount of money. That's half the cost, basically, of a brand new Classic 350. With a final total of £2,381 for the panniers and centre stand. Then, if on top of this you wanted a unique branding on your bike with a sticker pack, that would be £1,114. So that's well in excess of the cost of a Classic 350, bringing us close to £4,000. This one was an absolute given, wasn't it? Harley-Davidson, famous for accessorising the bike, only giving you half the bike and then charging you, nickel and diming you for every other accessory on top of that. There was some absolute gold in this one. Let's start with the colour. If you want anything other than grey, the colours come in at £550. Then if you want wheels that are spoked, that'll be another £750 on top of that. These are things that don't even count in the cost of a Classic 350. How about just some standard quick release saddlebags? They come in at £1,298.69. A mounting rack for the back, £233. And to be fair to Harley-Davidson, some of their items weren't too bad in comparison to the aftermarket, but it all soon mounts up, doesn't it? But then on their website I found this absolute crime. £3,417.71 for a top box, which is just completely insane. That's pretty much the cost of a Classic 350 for what is essentially a plastic box. If you've been into bikes for any length of time, you kind of understand what Harley's about, their brand and everything, and you know they're going to do this with accessories. However, there's another big American manufacturer who's probably worse than Harley-Davidson, and that's Indian. Let's start looking at some of their accessories. £1,387 for leather saddlebags. This is quite absurd. Of course, something that comes as standard on most bikes, you've got to pay for on an Indian. Passenger pegs, £228.36 for a pair of passenger pegs. If you want to upgrade to the 4-in-1 Ride Command digital display, which comes almost as standard, I believe the Himalayan has something similar. Loads of other bikes, this is just comes as standard. Now I know with Indian, you can actually buy this as if you buy a more upgraded bike, but at £1,194.56, this should just be standard on all their bikes. This shouldn't even be an option. Some of the accessories are just absolutely ludicrous. £597.25 for some floorboards. I'd want them made out of pure gold for this kind of money. That's just crazy for a floorboard. This is the sort of accessory you could find really easily and cheaply online on a different site in some aftermarket place. And I cannot see how a £600 floorboard is going to be better than one a quarter of the price or less. This absolute gem though really took the biscuit. £431.85 for a quick release touring trunk with a taillight in it. Painted in the most glorious disco glitter as well. For £4,400 you could pretty much buy an outstanding second-hand motorcycle, let alone for a very glitzy box to go in the back to keep your sandwiches in. I think going through their website, without a doubt, Indian are the biggest criminals here. They just have some accessories that are just should be standard on the bike or should be significantly cheaper, which is such a shame because the brand itself makes some absolutely awesome bikes. It is a little unfair to just pick the very high-end bikes. However, what I would consider very mainstream manufacturers are pretty much at it as well. Suzuki is another. They have some ludicrously priced accessories for a Suzuki of all things. Let's just look at some luggage options here. Top case $594, top case carrier $64, The side cases, so we're not even talking the fancy aluminium touring side cases. These plastic ones come in at £927.52. And of course you'll need a bracket to attach those at £93.33. So these aren't even the high-end touring aluminium boxes, these are just the conventional boxes. If you're going off-road on your adventure bike, you will need a skid plate just in case. It's probably what I would consider an essential option. You don't want a stone going through your oil filter or similar. This one comes in at £311. One of the biggest crimes on the Suzuki website is heated grips at £400. Anyone who lives in a colder country knows you can get aftermarket one of these for about $100 that are really, really good as well. How about just some fog lights? Sort of essential on any touring bike, aren't they? These ones come in at £445 for a pair of LED fog lamps. Again, aftermarket, you could find these for a quarter of that price. All in, the Suzuki grand total is £2,834.52. So you can see why I made this video. These accessories are all available aftermarket for considerably cheaper, but I think someone's at it because there's no way they should cost this amount of money. Especially when you option up modestly, you're starting to look at owning a classic 350. This is probably why the 350 is so popular, because you can get such a great bike for essentially the price of some options from other manufacturers. That way you've got a second bike to potter around and not rack up the mileage too much on your big bike, probably saving value in it as well. And your 350 is so simple, you can maintain it yourself. Just wanted to highlight this. You're probably aware already, you've probably seen it, it's quite common knowledge how some manufacturers operate, but I just wanted to make a video to illustrate how outrageous it is in certain instances, and it's not limited to what I would consider luxury high-end motorcycles. It happens across all of them. I've just picked out some examples here. You can find other examples from other manufacturers that are just as ludicrous. So when you come to buy a bike, be careful of customization on the website as you're picking and browsing your bike. Probably the best thing to do to save a lot of money is when you're looking for a second-hand bike, look for ones that have a lot of these accessories added, because they don't really add any value to a second-hand bike. Maybe a little, but you're never going to get your money back if you put these on when you buy it new. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this little insight, just a short video this week. I'll be getting back to my bike review soon. I just wanted to flag this up, and hopefully it's been a bit educational for you, or a little eye-opening. Thank you so much for watching, and bye-bye!